Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Boy, I tell you, if you want to live your best life, I got to believe that the gentleman that we're going to be talking to for this hour, he's kind of doing that, I think. So it's kind of fun to have him here. He's got the big cowboy hat. He's got the glass of Jack Daniels. What more could you ask for on a Friday night at 5 o'clock his time? Chris, how are you?
Kevin, I'm great. Happy Friday to you, sir. Thanks for having me on the program.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Chris Chitsey is his name, and I would love for you to go to Chris Chitsey, and you spell that CHITSEY music.com. You can find out all about him. You can go to he's got YouTube videos. He's got a brand new song that is, dare I say it, taking the world by storm.
Thank you.
It's called Life is Hard, Whiskey is Easy. And I have to tell you right off the top that I use country music, which is what your genre is.
Right.
I use that to explain a particularly bad period of my life. So I say I had a bad country music song period. And so, but yours are not bad country music songs. Yours are really good.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
and how did you come to, well, first of all, how long have you been a musician? How long have you been recording? What got you motivated from that? Because you already, most people would say, I've got this engineering firm that has been in my family for 50 years, and it's done well, and my dad kind of retired and I took charge, and so most people would say, I've done well, I think I'll leave it at there. But no, you wanted to follow your heart and follow your passion. Would that be a fair statement to make?
That's a very fair statement to make. You covered a lot of territory right there. So
I know
I'll dig in, but no, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure seeing you again. It's been a while. You're such a superstar that it's hard to get on the Kevin McDonald show, but I'm glad that I'm here today. So it all started for me back in high school. My father owned a big barbecue restaurant downtown Austin, and used to have all kinds of touring big national acts come through, the Dixie Chicks back in the day, and just tons of people. Not to sit here and name drop all day long, but as a kid, a 13, 14-year-old, I was watching these acts come through and play every Friday, Saturday night, and just fell in love with it. I consider myself kind of a country purist. I was raised on Merle Haggard and Mel Tillis and Buck Owens and Johnny Cash, and George Strait is kind of my mentor, but raised on a lot of George Strait, from Texas, born and raised in Austin. So country music's always meant a whole lot to me, and got to play in every fair, festival, rodeo, everything I could possibly play in my college years. My undergraduate college studies, little town south of Austin, San Marcos, Texas, a school called now Texas State, but Southwest Texas State University back when I went there. But just kind of got started there, playing again everything I could possibly play, and owning getting sowing my roots, if you will, playing. That's what the record labels want, is you playing shows. So did that, and my dad always preached to me. He wanted me to get my education first before I pursued music full time, and it's just something that once you get the music bug, it's hard to get it out of your system. I've had it for, over almost 30 years now. Almost 30 years. Got really lucky. First, about my freshman year in college, playing some bars down in South Texas, I was discovered by a music producer and manager that was in town visiting family. And within 2 or 3 weeks, I was in Nashville picking out songs for my first album. And that was back in 1998. And kind of the rest is history, as they'd say.
What is it like playing in front of a large, I don't think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people are not ever going to be in that position. And I would just love to know, what is it like in your mind when you're playing in front of a large crowd, and are you nervous going into it? Are you excited? I assume you play with a band or have a band backing you when you're most of the time. Would that be true?
Yes, sir. I do. Always carried a big band with me. I've always carried fiddle and steel guitar and all your traditional country instruments, but I've always had a 7-8 piece band with me on the road. But it's amazing. That's why we do this in the country music world. I mean, you can probably ask anybody, male or female. One of the biggest thrills of being in this industry is playing live shows and taking your music to the people, to the fans that get to come out and sing your songs right back to you. It is it's a blessing to be up on stage and in front of thousands of people sometimes, and have them singing your songs right back to you. Unreal. Now with streaming and downloading, and anybody in the world can get your song in the drop of a dime. And that's why we do this. You live for being on stage for that few minutes and or a few hours, whatever it is. But it's the highlight of what I do is being on stage, delivering my music to the fans, to the people.
And in this day and age, sadly, as it appears to be, that they're still trying to figure out how to do the money side of it and make sure that the artist is getting paid, and the songwriter's getting paid. So right now, and is it changing a lot? But right now, most of the time, in order for you to sell some merchandise and to sell some CDs, and to you almost have to play a lot live, don't you?
You do. I mean, you have to get out there and get your brand, your music known. Yeah, you really do. When I started almost 30 years ago, we were dying to get a CD in your local Walmart or your Sam Goody or some kind of music store, so you can make $1 or $2 off a $10 or $11, $12 CD, because all that money is allocated to record labels and promotion and things of that nature. So now it's down to 0.0043 cents per stream, and it takes 10-20 million to even make a few $100s. So it's a very hard business to make a living in.
I was talking with a guy that had 500,000 streams in like 2 months, and I said, "Man, that's really doing well. You must be." And he said he got a check for like $60.
Been there, done that many a times. I've had, over 35 singles released over the last almost 30 years, 8 number ones to date. And that's about, I would agree with your buddy that told you that. I mean, it's, you have my latest single out, Life is Hard, Whiskey's Easy. The video just passed, I think, 65,000 views on YouTube, and that pays about $100. So, we're getting rich in the music business, let me tell you.
and of course, the video costs $10,000 to produce.
Exactly. You never recoup what it costs to make it. You just make it because you love to do it.
There was a band that's in Seattle. They're called The Senate, and they did they signed a contract. By the way, if you're a musician listening to this, my first thing I would tell you is don't sign a contract, and if you can avoid it, so that you can maintain your own stuff. But anyway, 10 years ago, they signed a contract and they got some money up front and they went on tour. They're still paying that money back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you have stars in your eyes, but if it doesn't go as big as you hope, and they overspend, then you have to pay the money back. But in any event, so you are a prolific songwriter and musician, as well as an engineer and an entrepreneur and all these things. When do you have time for all this stuff?
It's tough. I luckily function very well off 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night, because that's all I get. And that's years and years of being regimented and being on the road, playing 200 shows a year, living in a tour bus, and finishing a show at 1 or 2 in the morning, getting a few hours sleep, and then arriving in the next town after your bus driver takes you there, and ready for morning drive radio. It's the highest listenership, so most of the time everybody wants to do morning drive radio. So they're beating on the bus door at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and you throw on a ball cap and run in and do morning drive radio. But one of my degrees is in radio television. So I've always loved doing anything with radio or TV. So it's always been a big part of my whole booking process, management. Everybody knows I love doing radio, love meeting the people. So every town that we would show up in, and they had a radio station, it was always, I would always love to do morning drive radio or afternoon, evening drive. It didn't matter. If it's radio, I love to do it.
Well, it's a great way to get your name out there. But I got to ask you about traveling around 200 days in a motorhome. What is that like? Are they tricked out, or are they kind of basic?
Pretty tricked out. These are full-blown entertainer coaches with a big lounge up front, TV, usually satellite. They got 12 bunks kind of in the middle, and then a back entertainment lounge. So you could have two different movies going at one time, or you could be sleeping or doing whatever, a little bathroom in the middle. But true entertainer coach is pretty decked out. It's a house on wheels, basically, 45 to 50 feet, depending on if you're in a Silver Eagle or a Prevost or whatever you choose to tour in. But yes, I always had a pretty nice bus, because you spend that much time on the road and you've got to be pretty comfortable, and you got to like the people that you're with. So I always said, you're living in a tube with 10 to 12 people. They may not be, and I've had to do this sometimes. I've had to let somebody go that was a great musician to bring somebody in that may not have been the best musician, but they were very easy to get along with. You've got to get along with guys on the road or gals for that matter.
Exactly. Well, that brings up an interesting question. Do you, when you have gals that backup singers and stuff, do they travel on the bus as well?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of guys tour with female whatever players, fiddle players, steel players, guitar players. But yes, most definitely.
Oh, well, I got to ask you this, because this came up with the Jeff Foxworthy comedy tour.
Uh-huh.
That they were doing the bus, and they had a rule, because this is just a bunch of old smelly guys, but they had a rule that number one was okay on the bus, number two was not okay on the bus, and they needed to wait until you would stop for lunch or something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of I personally think that's a really good rule. It keeps people from hating each other.
Yes, that is a rule of the road. I have heard that from every act I've ever toured with, played with. That is a general code of the road, standard of living in a bus. You just don't do that well, with a tank that carries it around with you. So if you got to go, you go up and tell your bus driver, hey man, you got to pull over in a hurry. Nature is calling, and usually we can find somewhere, unless you're in the middle of a stretch between San Antonio and Fort Stockton on I-10, and it's about 6 hours of nothing. So you look for an overpass you can run under.
Yeah, that burrito just ain't sitting well with me,
man. I got a couple of drummers that can tell you about that. I'm thinking of them right now.
I'll bet you can. See how glamorous life on the road is.
Right.
And we all think that you guys live an exalted lifestyle when you do that, but it's hard work traveling 200 days, and you don't carry with you a large group of roadies, I wouldn't think. So a lot of the setup and breakdown you guys are doing yourself, aren't you?
Yes, a lot of shows they will have roadies or stagehands or somebody to help you, but a lot of the times it's you're doing it yourself. Exactly. But a lot of your guys that carry a big bass rig, guitar rig, they want to set it up themselves anyway. So it always kind of works out.
Well, that's good. And so do you remember the day you wrote your first song?
I do. Many years ago. I'm not the biggest of songwriters. Good Lord bless me with a lot of things, but songwriting was not the top of the list. But I have been super fortunate over my almost 30 years in this industry to have had wonderful producers, wonderful record labels that have put me in contact with amazing songwriters that have delivered amazing tunes. I mean, I've charted 8 number ones, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I didn't write any of those number ones. They were all written by bigger, predominant songwriters that's what they do. So great question. I do write. My record labels have never liked my stuff. Just to be honest with you, good enough to ever record or to release to radio any of the things I've written.
Well, isn't that one of the things that everybody, I know back in the day, the Carpenters used to do that. And I mean, they would search for, and people would search for really, really good songs by people who did not perform them themselves.
Right.
And is that kind of a competition amongst all you guys to find the best songs that you can find or do you hook up with a particular songwriter and then kind of work with them?
That's a great question. And that's opens up a huge avenue. Guys that write, I mean, you can't record, even if you're a great songwriter, you can't record every single song that you write. So yes, there is kind of a competition to find the best songs out there. And there's guys that are professional songwriters. They get paid by publishers to write X amount of songs per year. Again, I've been fortunate enough to have gotten some amazing songs from some big songwriters, guys that have had 20, 30, some of these guys have had 70 number one songs before. Wow. Tunes that I've recorded. This current single was written by Rob Martin and Frank Maroney, 2 wonderful songwriters. They wrote my last number one that was out last year as well, and my summer single coming out here in a couple of months. So I've really kind of locked in with these guys, and they're going to have 3 or 4 singles of mine in a row because I just love their songwriting. It fits me so well. It's just a wonderful style, and it's almost like they're writing for me. They've actually written a couple of songs specifically for me that I'll be cutting here in the next couple months that are just, in my mind, they're amazing songs. I cannot wait to record them and get them out there for the public.
Well, it seems to me to make a lot of sense for a songwriter to hook up with a real good, accomplished band that can really execute the songs the way that they're designed to be, rather than to just send them out there and to have somebody that doesn't have the skills to be able to do the arrangements and to put it together and the harmonies and all of that. So it seems to me like that could be a good marriage.
It is. It's a wonderful marriage. I mean, to find somebody, give you an example, George Strait, who I've looked up to forever, kind of a mentor of mine. He has a guy that has been writing specifically for him for over 30 years named Dean Dillon. And I want to say George, to this point, has had 27 or 28 number one songs, all written by Dean Dillon. Amazing Nashville-based songwriter. But when you can put out that kind of, that kind of song 27 times it goes number one, I mean, it only makes sense to cut things from this guy because he's one of the best around.
Now, when you work with a songwriter and you agree on a particular song that you're going to do, how is it contractual? How you split up the proceeds from the sales and all of the things that go along with it? Do they get first dibs, or do you, or is it kind of a contract thing?
Again, great question, and it can be divvied up any way you want it. When you register a song, publishing wise, who controls the publishing and who gets paid on the publishing end of it, you can split it up any way you want it. I have a deal where I get a little bit of the publishing, the songwriter's getting most of it. So every time it's streamed or played, I'm getting a little bit, a few pennies here and there, but most of that goes to the songwriters. Most of the publishing goes to the songwriters. But again, it could be split any way you want it. If you're George Strait, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, one of these big artists recording somebody's song, they're usually going to give you a little bit more of it because you're recording their song and they know it's going to get 100 million streams or downloads. But yes, any way you want it, you can divvy it up.
Now, I'm a little older than you. I remember when there were cassette tapes. Do you know what a cassette tape is? Of course you do.
I do. I remember 8 tracks.
Oh, I was going to go there next, but okay. But I was going to ask you, CDs, are they a thing of the past, or is the sales of them? I don't see a lot of them in the stores anymore.
Yeah, I think they're a dinosaur. I don't think we're going to see CDs much anymore. I don't hear of anybody ever buying CDs anymore. I think they're a thing of the past. I mean, we live in a very a digital age where everybody has their phone right there, and if they want a song, it's pretty much instantaneous. Very few people that I know go to a store or have anything where they're buying CDs anymore. I think it's a thing of the past.
Now, I think it's true, but I don't know this. I've tried, but I can download a song, but I can't then upload it somewhere else, because I think they've got the technology now that I can buy the song and download it. But if I want to then put it on one of the shows like I do and play it, I can't do that.
They prohibit you from doing that.
Yes. Is that the technology, or has grown?
Spotify, iTunes, all your big ones have the technology that if you buy it, you can listen to it as many times as you want, but you can't pass it on, if that makes sense. They want everybody else to buy it or to stream it.
Which I advocate, and I also advocate that people go directly to you, and rather than stream the song, buy the song.
We would definitely appreciate that.
Because then you make a little bit more than 0.00.
You make a little bit more than a few pesos. It gets up in the pennies count.
I don't even know how much a peso is worth. But anyway, I went to Tijuana once, and that scared the hell out of me. And by the way, we're talking with Chris Chitsey, and we need to take a break. He is a country artist of note, and we're also going to talk about his business side, and also he has a town, a 13-acre town that he owns, and we're going to talk about that too. You're listening to Positive Talk right here on the Brushwood Media Network. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
See, that wasn't bad. That was just 30 seconds. Welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We're talking to Chris Chitsey, and he is a wonderful singer-songwriter. Go buy his latest song, which is Life is Hard, Whiskey is Easy, until you're into about a half a pint, and then it gets a little harder, I would think.
It does.
But it's good. It's now I got to ask you, you're on the road 200 days a year. What's that do to a marriage?
It ends one or two of them.
I didn't want to get that personal, but I gotta believe that when you're on the road that much, it is hard to keep everybody happy and everybody communicating and everything going in the right direction.
It is, most definitely. And again, I've seen it I've toured with pretty much everybody in the business that you can think of in the country music industry. And it's hard being gone that long. I mean, it's hard if you're a pilot, if you're whatever you're doing, making a living, if you're gone 150 to 200 days a year, it's hard. It really is.
Well, and also the other thing that I think you have to do is you have to build your tour around the road so that you can go from one place to the other with driving the fewest miles in between. But then are there a lot of, when you do that, are there a lot of down days? Like you're doing a Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you're driving on Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, you got nothing. And then you do the next weekend. Does that happen too?
It happens all the time, and that's one of the craziest logistics as far as logistics and getting to these different places. I mean, your big Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights are where it is. So it's the travel days. It's Sunday is hard to book a show. Monday is impossible to book a show. Tuesday and Wednesday are pretty hard to book a show. So if you're playing, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, if you're doing arena shows or big rodeos, festivals, whatever you're doing, sometimes it makes sense to go home for 3 days, depending on what part of the country you're in. I've always been based out of Austin with a band based in Nashville. So sometimes I'll send the guys on the bus back to Nashville. I'm flying back to Austin for 4 days, and then we hook up again in Vegas or wherever we're playing. But it's always been one of the tough things, even for your big guys, your Tim McGraws, your Blake Sheltons. I mean, it's playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you're usually going back to Nashville for 3 or 4 days, and then you're out again. It's hard to play Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's hard to play those off nights.
Yeah. So if you are as an example, if you guys came up here and in Washington State and you were going to tour around here and you had gigs on, and like the Puyallup Fair and different places that you could do on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
right?
And you would have to hang out in the bus for a couple of days.
You would. I mean, they would route us out. You'd play, Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and then you go into Arizona and play Tempe and Phoenix and a bunch of areas there on the way up to Seattle. But you'd have some off days. I mean, you'd have some chilling out on the bus days, getting there.
Now, do you own your own bus or do you rent it?
I used to own my own bus. Renting now is about the best thing you can do. Leasing, as they call it, leasing a coach. But for many years, for 15 years, I owned my own buses.
And I worked with a guy who was a bus driver for bands.
Yeah.
He worked for one of those services. Boy, did he have some stories to tell.
Lots of road stories. I know I was fortunate enough to have the same bus driver for about 8 or 10 years, and he was outstanding. Stephen Edelman, if you're listening, brother, hello. Great guy. But I've known a lot of bus drivers that have a lot of great stories. Some not so great, but most of them are really cool stories from some big bands.
Well, what is your goal? Would you like to be like some of the top names? You're doing really, really quite well. Do you believe that that's going to be in your future?
The good Lord's placed me here, and I'm just trying to deliver my music to the world. This current single is out to 250,000 stations in 180 countries. So there's people streaming and listening to Chris Chitsey music right now in Africa and India, places I never dreamed would be listening to my music. So very, very fortunate in that regard. But I would like to get more of a global presence. I've always had tons of fans in Australia, New Zealand, all over Europe, Southeast Asia. South America is huge right now. Brazil, Argentina, they're loving the video, loving the single. But yes, we have a big UK tour and Europe tour planned for next year. So we're just getting ready to get across the pond, as they would say, and deliver Chris Chitsey music to the world.
That's really cool. If you had to describe your music, how would you describe it?
I would have to say I'm a big fan of 90s country. I grew up kind of on 90s country, and I would say it's very much 90s country with a little bit of modern flair because we kind of had to for radio purposes and to get it played. But I'm a traditionalist, like I said earlier in the conversation. So you'll find a lot of fiddle, a lot of steel, a lot of your good old country instruments from the past with a little modern flair to it.
Do you ever play Devil Went Down to Georgia?
Love that song. Love Charlie Daniels. And yes, when I carry a smoking fiddle player that can play it, we're definitely playing Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Is that a tough song? That must be a tough song to play.
It's a tough song for a drummer to play. It's a tough song for a fiddle player to play because it's just so fast and the timing is just there's no time to even hardly take a breath in the song. So it's just crazy 3.5-4 minutes of a song, but it's so fun.
Yeah. And I got to ask you now, when you're going to talk to radio stations, and they used to have years ago, have how long the song can be. They wanted 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. And are they still doing that?
I don't hear so much about it anymore, but in my camp, in the Chris Chitsey world, the management and everybody, we're always trying to keep a song at 3 minutes. That's kind of the magic number. If it's a ballad, you can go 3:30 usually on a ballad, but if it's an upbeat tune, you want to give them 3 minutes of it, and then you want them kind of wanting more of it. You want them to hear it again, so they'll be inclined to play it again. But 3 minutes ish is a perfect length for a country song.
I think that's probably about right. And that holds people's attention. Yeah. And it's easier for the radio station to slot it in because they can slot it in around the commercials and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, we've got one of those coming up. And when we get back, I'm going to ask Chris if he has a favorite big time star story that he's not allowed to tell. We're going to do this, but we won't tell anybody, so he can tell us. So we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We've got a wonderful country music artist. His name is Chris Chitsey, and he is here. Go to his website, which is chrischitseymusic.com, and you can find out all about him. You can download some of his music, and you can buy it from him rather than going through the middlemen, which means that they get their middlemen, and most of it's a lot more than you'd like to give them. But that's life. So I got to ask you, you've been around the business for a while. Do you have a favorite story of somebody who you don't have to name, but is a big name that we would all know, and a story that they might regret having happened to them?
I
won't make you stick to that, Chris. I
have a couple of good ones. We were doing a pretty big time tour back in the early 2000s with some big names that everybody would know. And after the show, somebody snuck into my bus. One of these, it's a big duo. One of them snuck in, or both of them possibly, snuck into my bus and put a big rubber snake in my bunk, in my bed. So when I climbed in after the show, I climbed in bed and probably jumped out as fast as I got in, but came in contact with a big giant rubber snake. And another time we were out in Tempe, Arizona, and some guys late night, these band members, we all kind of snuck out of our buses. We were parked right next to the Tempe Zoo and got really close to the monkey enclosure. It was fenced in, but they began throwing stuff at us, if you know kind of what I mean. And we,
it was a poo contest.
It was a pretty crazy time. There was about 10 of us running as fast as we could run away from the monkey exhibit.
Because you didn't want that, all of it. Yeah.
Wasn't good. So they're a good story, funny story, and kind of a not so funny bad story.
So now that you've got your college education and you're working full time for the business that you have, what is the name of the business and what exactly do you guys do?
The business is A+ Inspection Services, PLLC. Was my father's company we're celebrating our 57th year this year of business. I've been running it for the last 31 years because I've been doing inspection engineering work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday pretty much for my whole adult life, and being on the road Thursday through Sunday, a large portion of that, because I just have a crazy passion for that industry, the inspection engineering industry, and that world. If you're buying a residential structure, if you're buying a commercial property, do a lot of bridges, hotels, big. If you're in the market, if you're buying something, you would call me to come look at it for you, to let you know exactly what you're buying. But that's been a big part of my life, all of my adult life, and something that I'm super passionate about. It's when I'm in town, it's my golf or my fishing or whatever a lot of guys like to do when they're in town. I schedule jobs because I love that industry. I love helping people and advising people of what they're getting into. It's just a huge part of what I love to do. So I'm up at the crack of dawn doing that, usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and juggling. Last week it was 18 interviews. So between work and trying to juggle 18 interviews with the new single out, and very busy times, but wouldn't trade it for the world. I just feel that I was put here to do all of it that I'm involved in. So I'm a workaholic, as they'd say.
Well, it's an occupational hazard, but I did want to put out this because I think it's really important. If you are buying a house, or you are buying looking at buying a larger thing or whatever, you really need to have a good inspector, and not all inspectors are the same. Some are not nearly as detail oriented. And when I'm buying something, I want a detail oriented thing that will tell me what exactly is wrong with it, so I can go back to the current owner and say, this is what we found, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is what you need. Because you don't want to buy something and then have everybody walk away, and then all of a sudden have something go wrong, and you have to call somebody and they say, well, the inspector probably should have found that. Too bad. It's going to cost me $15,000. So that's a really good line of work to be in, because you can save somebody a lot of headache.
Very well said. Very well said. I've been in this industry 31 years. I've done 13,000 inspections and structural evaluations. I'm a graduate civil engineer as well. So very different degrees, like you said, of inspections, very different degrees of inspectors. I get people that call me all the time, and due to my qualifications and experience, I specialize in high-end kind of boutique construction. But I get people to call me and say, gosh, you're $200 more than the other guy. And I often laugh, because it's the other guy's been licensed 3 months and has done 10 inspections. And you say, well, would you rather have that guy that's done 10 inspections, or myself for sometimes $100 or $200 more that's done 13,000? So I always tell everybody, when you're buying anything residential, commercial, find the most expensive inspector or engineer around, because that $200 or $300 extra dollars you can spend on a $500,000 to $10 million investment might be some of the best money you've ever spent in your lifetime. I did a new construction last week, a 5,000 square foot residential home, brand new construction, never lived in, with a roof that was one of the worst roofs I had ever seen. Brand new construction. The buyers ended up going back and got a brand new $75,000 roof. So saved them $75K on their purchase.
Yeah.
Big find. And I find a lot of that,
Yeah, but by the way, I want to remind you of something. You're in the home inspection business, which I assume means that you have to go into the basement or down underneath it. Did you know that in Texas they have spiders and snakes?
I do know that. There's a lot of pier and beam houses here too, with, you get under 18 inches of access and run into a possum, raccoon, porcupine, rat. There's a lot of good stuff here in Texas, let me tell you.
I got to tell you, I'm glad you like what you do, because that's why I live in Seattle, Washington. We don't have spiders. We don't have snakes to speak of.
I'll tell you a crazy story. I went under this pier and beam home one time. This has been 15 years ago. And I heard this buzzing sound. Sounded like a bee and or bees plural. Come to find out, there was a bee nest or a hive that was 3 feet tall and about 2 feet wide. Ended up having a beekeeper come out because I got out of there as quick as I could, but said it was one of the largest hives under a house that he has ever seen. But it wouldn't have been good news if I would have got, trapped, or they would have found me quickly. I got out of there, thankfully.
Do you get battle pay for this stuff like that?
Unfortunately not.
Oh, well, I'd build it into the price of admission.
Right.
Like, I found this and I found that, and I found these dead things and I found this live thing. And
yep. I like that. I'm going to call that the Kevin fee. I'll if they have a problem with it, I'll tell them to come talk to you.
Exactly. And then
hazard pay.
It is. I got to tell you, it is hazard pay. It's underneath the house. But then you also got something else going that is really, really cool. How did you run into a 13-acre town?
My lovely sister, and I have a real estate investment company that we own and operate. And last year, February, we came into an opportunity to buy a 13-acre registered old Western town out in West Texas. It's 28 RV spots. It's a big RV park. We've got 10 Airbnbs on site. It's a 3-street old Western town with a restaurant. We've got 6 bars, indoor stage, outdoor stage, big saloon. Warner Brothers has shot 3 movies on site, but it's a really cool place. I just absolutely love going up there because I can step out of the big city, whether it's Austin or Nashville. I kind of split my time between both, but I can drive 2 hours from Austin and be in Brownwood, Texas. It's in a little town called Early, 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 Texas. The name of the town is called Los Trece, named after the number 13 in Spanish, Trece. Los13.com is our Western town. But it's just a step back in time. It's really cool to see and literally step back to the 1800s. We have a gunfighter crew that does really cool gunfights for all the people that are there at certain times of the day. And we've got a 2-story old Western saloon. So some guys get shot off of the upper deck and do flips and stuff down into some old wagons, and it's pretty cool. But restaurant's great. Got an amazing chef. Again, we've got 6 bars, huge area for the kiddos. It's just a really cool place.
That would be a lot of fun to run. I was in the restaurant business for a long time.
Yeah,
and that would really be a lot of fun to run something of that size and that magnitude. I got to ask you, does the saloon have bat doors?
It does. It does.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, the bat doors, well, you explain.
You talking swinging doors?
Yes.
Yes. The entrance to the saloon, old-timey, just swinging doors. You can see those swinging doors on the video for my last single called Last Time I Saw You, which was out at the end of 2023. We shot a little bit of that at Los Trece, and there's a scene where I get to walk through the doors. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you can pretend to be like John Wayne, and I'm coming into town, and stuff. So that would be really fun. So far, I've learned that you have 2 businesses. They take that back, 3 businesses, 6 bars, a saloon, a bunch of Airbnbs that I assume are owned by different folks, and then you've got the promotion and the Have you thought about, I was just thinking about this. Have you thought about taking your band, making your band the house band of this 13-acre town, and you could be like Dollywood?
There you go. I mean, that sounds great. If you can remember the movie Urban Cowboy.
Oh, yes.
Put Mickey Gilley and Johnny Lee on the map. Well, Gilley's was a legit place down in Pasadena, Texas, it's a little suburb of Houston. And I've always said I want this place to be like that. When the next few years, when I kind of hang it up from the road and have every band, because we book a lot of bands there, kind of one of the requirements, if you will, is you got to know a Chris Chitsey song if you're going to be playing here, because you never know when I'm going to show up. And I just show up on a whim and get up and sing some tunes for the people. But yes, I at some point in time, I think I'm going to kind of retire to the Los Trece area and just be the house band there.
I think that would be awesome for you.
That would be cool.
And you could grow your name there and all that kind of good stuff. Do you have any idea, because you've got the bars and the stuff, what it generates in revenue? Is it busy all the time?
Well, we're open right now Thursday through Sunday.
Okay.
And yes, it's busy. It's busy all the time. So my sister runs it for me, and she has done a fantastic job of getting it on the map. It's very centrally located. So it's 2 hours from Austin, 2 hours from Dallas, Fort Worth, 45 minutes from Abilene, Texas, and about an hour and a half from Waco. So it's a lot of people can get to it in a very short period of time.
Well, I tell you, your sister, is this a gene that goes around in your family?
It is. My father was a pretty big entrepreneur, involved in a lot of different things. And both of us have always been involved in a lot of different things.
Well, I guess if that's how you can spend your life in a lot of different ways, and if that's how you enjoy spending your life, more power to you. I
appreciate that.
You should do that. And I if I ever get to Texas, if you could get rid of the snakes, I'd go tomorrow.
There's no snake. I've gotten rid of the snakes at Los Trece. So come see me. I'll put you up at Los Trece for a weekend. We'll have a great time. You can eat and drink and listen to some awesome music. How about that?
Do you have barbecue? Of course you have barbecue.
I will make the chef prepare barbecue for you. How about that?
What
yes, we have barbecue.
What is your chef's specialty?
Oh man, he does a smash burger. That's one of the best burgers. Has the kind of an onions in it smash burger, double meat smash burger. Amazing. Cooks amazing tacos. We do a lot of stuff, kind of old chuck wagon style. We have a big chuck wagon outside the kitchen with a big pot. He'll do stews and chili. And when it's cold, it kind of works a little better. 105-degree day in Texas. Yeah, not so much on the chili and stew, but when it's cold, it's awesome.
Yeah, what movie was that where he said the food is hot, brown, and lots of it? That's I forget what movie that was. Anyway, by the way, we're talking with Chris Chitsey, and he's a entrepreneur. He's a country music artist. He's a restaurateur. He's a real estate agent. Goodness gracious, what's your business card look like?
It's pretty long, pretty elaborate.
we need to take our final break. We're going to be right back in just a second. I hope you'll stay with us. I'm enjoying this conversation. This is a heck of a guy, and I want you to go to his website and buy the song Life is Hard, Whiskey is Easy, because it is impacting country radio and TV in a big way. And we'll be right back. Don't go away, please.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. You know, I'm looking at this website where it's chrischitseymusic.com. 250,000 stations. I didn't even know there were that many.
It's a lot of stations.
And that is. And how do you get on 250,000 stations?
You have Sony Nashville behind you, and you have great promoters, but it's taken me almost 30 years to sign kind of first major label record deal. So it is a long time in the making. people say, well, wow, you're an overnight success. I say, well, that 27 years was the longest night of my life. Let me tell you, because it's been a grind. I prayed for it in my 20s. It never really happened. I mean, a lot of stuff, a lot of touring, a lot of great stuff, but again, prayed for it in my 30s, got into my 40s, and it finally happened. So it's all in his timing and not mine. So I'm just going with the flow.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there ain't no such thing as an overnight success. Well, I take that back. Maybe there's one. Taylor Swift would come to mind, of someone that was, when she was 18, have you ever met Taylor?
I have not met Taylor. I've heard nothing but great stuff, and look forward to hopefully meeting her one day. But I have never had the opportunity to meet Taylor Swift.
Now, she is now moved away. Has she moved away from country music, or is she just encompassing more in what she does? Do you have any idea?
I think, I don't want to speak for her, obviously, but I think she's developed that global audience. And I think her heart is always and always will be with country music. But she's a fabulous songwriter, writes all her own stuff. And so she's just dabbling in it all, if you will. I don't think you can put a genre on Taylor Swift. She just writes what she likes to write. If you want to call it pop, if you want to call it rock, country, it's great music.
I have to tell you this, is that I grew up when the Beatles were in the 60s with the Beatles. So I remember the amount of people that were interested in what they were doing and the buzz that they created. I've been watching her a little bit. I see the same thing going on with her as was going on with them. So be looking for her. She's doing some great things. But one of these days, I'm going to see you and her do a duet. How about that?
I'll take it. So, where do I sign? Sign me up right now.
Because I think that your music is. I love the song. Life is hard, whiskey is easy. And what, you've got songs that are coming up for the summer as well?
We do. Life is hard, whiskey's easy. It's always hard, and your record label management, everybody's like, don't talk about your next single while your current single is doing great. But yes, the current single, Life is Hard, Whiskey's Easy, is doing outstanding. It's racing up all the big charts, and I'm very blessed and thankful for that. But in this industry, you always have to be thinking about your next single. And my summer single, which will be out in June, we just finished the music video for that, getting ready for that single. It's a song called Every Small Town. It's about small town USA. It just got picked to be the theme song for a new TV show coming out in May. The show is called Only in Iowa. Everybody says only in Iowa, and I'm like, no, it's not Iowa. It's only in Iola, I-O-L-A. It's a East Texas little town east of College Station, Texas, and it's about God, family, and Texas. I mean, it's a pretty wholesome show. But Every Small Town is the summer single. Again, just finished the video for that, and it's going to be debuted on the TV show coming out in May on Roku, Amazon Prime, called Only in Iola. It's onlyiniola.com if you're interested in checking out the new TV show.
Well, I think that's a really good idea, and I would have a little bone to pick with the producers and the marketing people, because I want people to get to know your website, so that they'll put that on their short list of favorites, so that they'll check you out every week to see what's coming, where you are, what you're doing. ChrisChitseymusic.com is where you go to do that, and he's got a lot of stuff on there, and keep checking him out, because I think you're going to see some really cool big things coming from him. By the way, I wanted to ask you, you came to me through Thornton Klein. Is he one of your songwriters? He's a prolific songwriter in his own right, right?
He is. He's had many hit songs, many of best-selling books. He's a great author. I mean, the guy does a lot. I mean, he does a lot. He's actually the owner of one of my record labels. I'm on Clientele Nashville, and Clientele is Thornton's record label, also with Sony Orchard. And so I have 3 labels basically, and distributors. And they always ask me, why do you have 3? I say, well, it takes 3 to control me. I can't just go with one. So I've got to have 3.
Well, it's good. It's good to have enough people to work with and stuff. If you were 18 now and you wanted to be a huge country music star and you had some chops, you had the ability to get some stuff done, and you could write a little bit, what would be your advice?
It's a great question, and I've thought about that many times. What I would do different. We only get one life, so you make the best of it, type of thing. I probably would have moved to Nashville, and I lived in Nashville for years, but I didn't move there at 18. Music has always been such a passion of mine. I wish I would have moved there and kind of gotten into the little Nashville clique a lot sooner than I did. I think I would have impacted the world with my music in my 20s or 30s versus my 40s. But I would say if you have a dream to do it, man, go all out, because life is short.
Is there any particular skill that you think that they need to have above all the other skills?
Determination, grit, a good work ethic, the ability to hear no and say, you know what, I believe in myself, and I believe in what I do, and I'm going to keep doing it till somebody likes it.
You just said one of my favorite words, which is, if you go to my website, which is positivetalkradio.net, I have a tab that's there about authentic grit.
Yeah.
Because in order to achieve anything in life, you have to there's certain fundamental things that you need to have and be about in order for you to be successful.
Yeah.
And so look at that. If you have a mind to go to positivetalkradio.net, look at authentic grit. But yeah. I want to thank you, young man, for being here. And as I always like to do, and to put you on the spot, we're going to have to say goodbye here in a minute, but I want you to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know that you think they'll find valuable.
That they'll find valuable.
Or not. Or tell a joke. I don't,
No, I think it just kind of to piggyback on what I just said, life is short. If you've got a dream, an ambition, anything in life, I tell my kids, I have 3 kids, I tell them this all the time, to don't be afraid to chase your dreams. I mean, go after it. They're not usually going to come to you. It takes a lot of work, grit, determination. Go fight for it, man, because it's life is short, and when you get to be my age, you realize how short it is, and it's like it gets shorter, man. You know how it is, Kevin. But
just wait,
go for it.
Even shorter.
If you want to be a singer, if you want to be a baseball player, man, whatever it is that you want to do, go get it. Go get it.
Yeah, I said that to my kid, and I have 2 boys, well, 2 men. They're in their 30s now. And I asked one of them, how come you don't listen to my show more? And he said, Dad, I've known you for 40 years. What else is there to know? I get
the same thing from my kids. They never listen to my music. All their friends tell them stuff about me, and they don't ever watch my videos. They never watch my interviews. It's just it's what Dad does. It's like Dad gets up and works an IT job. They're not concerned that Dad gets in and does an interview or Dad's doing a performance. Oh, well, that's what Dad does,
Chris Chitsey, I want to thank you for being here so much.
My pleasure, man.
Awesome. Will you come back and see me again?
I'd love to. I'd love to. I feel like a real superstar now that I've made the Kevin McDonald show. So I appreciate you having me on very much.
Oh, stop it! It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. I want to thank everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.